All right, guys, so we'll follow up the last video. I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do a hook like we were using, over there. We used a hook on each one of these, and then two on the big beam. So the weight was kind of a third and a third and a third across those three beams, right? What I'm going to do is, I'm going to show you on this beam because it's close. What I'm going to do is, I'm just going to use the same concept. I'm going to use a hook, a rubber coated hook, and hook it in, one of those holes. And then the strap that's attached to that hook is going to go up, go through one of those holes and loop back and go back to the same hook. And I'll just do a fancy knot and tie it off. So it'll be a double strap. And the only danger to that is this edge could cut the strap. So what I'm going to do is, they have this edge guard stuff that's on Amazon that I found. I've never used it before, but it's got these little metal U's, like clips, built into the rubber. So since there's metal in there, I know that it's not going to get sliced by that. The metal is like a rounded metal edge with rubber on top, so that'll protect the strap from getting cut, you see. So it'll be a double redundancy. It'll be two straps instead of one strap. So we already know one strap holds the weight. So now we'll have two straps. And I just noticed that crack right there in the paint. That's interesting. I wonder what I had hanging up there at one point. I had something hanging there. Look at that crack in the paint. It's really interesting. I forget what I had up there. I think I had, I don't know. That's weird. Okay, so anyway, so you just do these U straps, and then you can tie them off to whatever distance, and but it'll be on these back three. So it'll be three U straps, and then from the U straps, I'll just have another hook on the or even just a ring that then has a threaded bolt that screws down into the U-track. Okay, I've been calling it unitrack the whole time, and in reality it's called oh fuck, I keep forgetting what it's called. Anyway, it's not called unitrack, it's called something else, and I'll put it in the title of the video. But anyway, so you use the uni thing. And I don't think you guys understand how heavy duty that thing is. It looks like, oh, that's just a little flimsy thing you buy at Home Depot or Lowe's. This thing is extremely heavy, like extremely fucking heavy. You cannot bend this thing remotely easily. Okay, like it's extremely heavy duty. It holds a ton of fucking weight. Okay, you'll see in a minute. So the other thing I forgot to mention in the last video, I put it in the comments, is the whole purpose of this jack stand is you put the jack stand outside and it's holding up the unitrack, whatever the fuck it's called, outside. Okay, so it's out past the length of the transmission. So you have the transmission go outside the door, lower it down with a little winch, and this thing, the transmission stand, will be adjusted to the proper height to hold up the unitrack at the proper height. With all that said, I'm probably going to take this back because I'll never use this again. I won't. Anywhere that I ever put my car up on a lift, they have one of these, okay? The other thing is, once you put it together, it doesn't disassemble easily. It's a big, clunky fucking thing. The whole purpose of this adventure right now that we're on with this van is how to get everything, small, concise. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to get one of those little giant ladders, okay? The little fold-up ladders. Holds 300 pounds per step rung, okay? So same concept here. And that's half the weight, because you got to realize the other half the weight's going to be held by the anchors in the van, okay? So technically, you have 600 pounds worth of support if you have a ladder that can hold 300 pounds, and then you have the unitrack that's mounted in here that can hold another 300 pounds, which we've already proven. So, anyway, so that's the plan now, is just use the straps, get additional straps that are thicker than these. I'm still going to use these as tie-down straps. Now, I want to do a follow-up. The ones that were kind of shredded from the trip, The reason why those got shredded is because of they had the fray on them. That's because of the deer episode. I cannot stress to you guys enough how much I swerved to miss that deer. Like, it is a miracle that this transmission was still on the blocks. But the more I thought about it, since those were tied up around where the what do you call it, oil cooler is, when the transmission tries to move, let's say to the right, since that was attached to the anchor down at the bottom of the floor to the left, the transmission wants to clock counterintuitively because it's tied. It's like it's tied around its neck. So if you want to move the whole transmission to the right, the transmission has to clock back to the left, counterclockwise. Well, that puts all the force on this tab over here on that concrete block, which is why it didn't come off the block. It pushed down on that block even more, which is interesting. And then same thing, then when I was in the oncoming traffic lane and had to recover, otherwise I'm going to fly off the road because I zigged left, then I had to zig back right real hard. When I zigged back right, I mean, the back end of the van was in a power slide, guys. Like, it was, both ways was, like, but back right was, anybody who's ever driven a car, you've whipped it right, and then you know when you whip it left, it's really bad. And so I don't know how I didn't hit the deer. It jumped right into my lane. Like, it wasn't even like jumping into my lane. It was like jumping into my van. Like, it was obviously in front of me because I could see it. And I don't know how I missed it. It really is a miracle. And then you got the deer fur outside, which is shown in the last episode, which is pretty crazy. But on the little magnet thing that the door swings around to. That's what that thing is that the door swings around to. It's a magnet that holds it so that if the wind blows, the door doesn't come slamming back shut. For those of you who don't know what that thing is, where the deer fur is. Anyway, so that was a miracle. And on this whole trip, I'm a logical person. Like, I was like, what the fuck am I doing buying a whole entire DCT? This isn't good. But I got like this magic gut that like talks to me sometimes, and it's just like, this is the way. Buy this transmission, it's going to work out great. And I'm just like, now keep in mind, I could have bought just the case, which is a whole lot less weight, but they're still heavy as fuck. The case is over 200 pounds, guys. Just the fucking outer shell of that thing's over 200 pounds. This is a good time for me to mention that General Motors could have teamed up with Koenigsegg back in 2018, and if nothing else, offered their Lightspeed transmission, which only weighs like a couple hundred pounds. It's really tiny. It's got 3 shafts in it. It's revolutionary. It holds more power than this one does. Long story short, General Motors could have offered that transmission as an option. And even if Koenigsegg wanted to make $5,000 or $10,000 in royalties per transmission, General Motors could have sold the fucking thing as a $20,000 upcharge, and it would have made the handling of the car so much better because it would have made the weight distribution proper on the car, because you would have shaved 200 pounds off the rear of the car. And it's a superior transmission. It just is. Those of you who don't know anything about it, do your homework on the 3-shaft Koenigsegg Lightspeed transmission. It's amazing. So anyway, and I actually wrote a big article about that on Corvette Forum, and Deb Lowe, you don't know what you're talking about. You wait till you see what GM did. It's so much better than this. Oh my God, I fucking hate that bitch. Okay, so anyway, she's so fucking stupid. So anyway, I'm so sick of the GM puppet people. But anyway, okay, so more heavy duty straps in use across the ceiling. That way I can just take them out real quick. You untie the knot, you take it off, you put them away in the corner, and then you have heavy duty straps for another day, for some other job. And now I'm not bumping my head on anything. Meanwhile, the unitrack thing, whatever the fuck it's called, there's a few different options what I could do with it. The one I think I'm going to end up doing is seeing if it doesn't go underneath the front seat, then I can put it next to the bed, okay, and it'll be out of the way because it'll go up underneath the front seat, up to the front, okay. Okay, so that's that. So that's cool. So now I got to, and then I just put the, here's the box for the hoist. I just put that box back, underneath the shelf somewhere. It's not a big deal. Put it on the shelf. It's whatever. Easy. Okay, so that's that. So now we're in business. Okay, so and then the ladder. I can put the ladder over here against this wall on its side. Okay. Or vertical even, whatever. I can get the hanger things that you put in your garage to hold a ladder or whatever, or I can just use the straps and figure out a way to strap it to the wall. Okay, so that's that. So we got the ladder situation solved. Okay, so The ladder is going to replace the transmission stand, which I think I already said. So we'll take that back to, I'm not going to open that box. We're going to take it back. Okay, so with all that said, now I'm going to talk about something really weird. And I almost didn't want to talk about this because it's really like it's almost like a supernatural weird discussion to me. You guys recognize this? This is my fancy pull-up bar. It has 2 nuts. These washers were what was up on the top. It goes through a small hole up there in that thick metal. And I put the double washers to, disperse the weight evenly. And I tightened this all the way down, which can be seen in yesterday's part 2 video. When I glance up at this thing, you will see that this was all the way down because the other washer, there is yet another one that goes, I don't have the third washer attached right now, but there's a third washer. The third washer that's on the bottom side, that was the real shiny one, it was snug against the ceiling. And since the metal's really thin, this guy here was all the way down on part 2 of yesterday. So today when I came back and made the deer fur video, right before I made the deer fur video, I pulled up. I was driving the Corvette actually. I left the van here parked. I came back to the van and the back door was cracked open, noticeably open. It wasn't just like half shut, it was like noticeably open. I was like, oh shit, somebody broke in my van. So first thing I do is I go check to make sure that the front door on the van is locked. The front door on the van is locked. And I was like, oh shit. And so I walk back around to the back of the van. I open it up and I look around. Transmission's still here. My computers are still here. Hang on, I didn't even check to see if my briefcase is still here. Let me a second. Yep, okay, still got my briefcase. The battery, the $2,000 battery is still here. Everything's still here, right? And so I was like, oh, I must have just left the door open. Stupid me. Even though I know I didn't, because I remember like walking around the van before I left it and pulling on all the doors to make sure they were locked. Because sometimes this van does weird things. The door was fucking open, guys, like cracked open. Not like, it was open. Like I didn't have to unlock the van to open it up. It was open. So I'm looking around and I go to get up to climb up and grab onto my trusty handle and it's gone. And I look down on the ground and there it is on the ground. Except it didn't have the nut and these 2 washers. It only had the third washer, which is the one that goes on the bottom side. And it was all laying neatly on the ground. So I was like, I'll be damned, that thing must have fallen down. So then I was like, God, this thing's gonna be such a bitch. And the nut and the washer that I had up in the top, they're not gonna be up there anymore. They probably fell down the side of the van because it's like a hollow tube that goes all the way down. So I had to take the black cover off. Let's see if I can show you here. See where you can see that cord up there behind the black cover? There's another black cover that goes over that cord. I had to take that black cover off because I have to stick my hand through a hole. Let's see if I can show you where the hole is or not. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not. See that hole? Hang on, what? I'm looking at the wrong one. There, see that big hole back there behind that black cord? That's where I have to stick my hand through to get back to put the nut on the top of this bolt. And I was like, oh, fuck. So I take the cover off, I reach up in there, and sitting there perfectly, right in place, didn't vibrate down, which is what should have happened if this thing came off while I was driving, okay? If this thing vibrated down while I was driving, then that's a tilted tube up there. It tilts down like a waterfall. It would have, the nut and the washers, these would have been gone. They'd be down in the bottom of the van somewhere and I wouldn't be able to get to them. But they're all just sitting up there neatly. And so I'm sitting there racking my brain. I'm like, do I have amnesia? Did I take this thing out? And I'm telling you guys, I didn't. Okay, I did not. The last thing I did was I unhooked the hook from this. So then I go back to the part 2 video, and I look at the part 2 video, which was when I had this thing hooked up, because that's when I had it, you know, strapped up there. And I said, well, certainly this must have been pulled down where, like, to give you an example, would have been like this, and therefore this nut and the washer that sits on top of that nut would have had a gap, and you would have seen threads showing. And when you see these threads showing, that means that the other one is, you know, coming undone. It must have vibrated. It's vibrated its way off, so it would have been like this. You know what I'm saying? Working its way to its last thread. Because that was the other thing I thought. I had like anxiety. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I lifted that transmission. I lifted it while this thing was on its last threads. I should have checked it better. And I was like, I think I checked it though. And so I go back to part 2 video and I look at it. Sure as shit, it's checked. I mean, it was tight. There was no gap like this. There were no threads showing. It was tight. Okay. So think about this for a second. I use it. Holds up a 400-pound transmission. Unhook from it with just a hook. I just unhook. I don't do anything else to it. I don't twist the thing. I leave it alone. I drive this morning to go grab some food and go to, you know, Harbor Freight and stuff. I come back here. I park the van. I'm in and out of the back of the van. I don't notice that this is missing, which I think I would have. Okay. And then I lock the van up. And I take the Corvette and I go do some other things, because I was like, I don't want to be driving around with this transmission because it's not all bolted down yet. Okay. Because I just bought the parts, but I didn't want to fuck with it, and I wanted to go do some other things. So I take the Corvette, I go to run some errands, I come back. That's when I notice the door's open. This thing's on the ground. So here's what it comes down to, guys. Even if somebody is punking with me, like fucking with me, like there's several options here. One, somebody's fucking with me. They know this thing's important to me. They're like, we're going to sabotage him and unscrew this thing and make him think he's going crazy. Okay, fine. Either way, that person still did me a favor, and I'm going to explain why here in a second. Like, really long story short, this washer, I have bigger washers. And anyway, so that's that concept. I'm not going to get into that much further. Okay, so, and the other thing is I'm probably going to go ahead and get an even thicker one of these loops just to be safe, because there's going to be a lot of weight on that loop soon. So it's like, may as well get a really heavy duty one. I mean, don't get me wrong, this one's really heavy duty, but I'm probably just going to go ahead and go for gold and get a really thick one that, you know. So anyway, it's like, why not? Okay, so that's okay. So that's option 1. Somebody's fucking with me. Option 2, I got some sort of guardian angel. Somebody's like watching out for me. And they knew that this was going to be a problem because it only had this little washer that doesn't disperse the weight that far up there. I thought this washer up there that I had up there was bigger. I have these other washers that are bigger. I need to add one of my bigger washers yet. So it's like a pyramid. It disperses the weight out. But I need to add, I need to get a bigger hook here. So that's that. It's just really weird. So between that deer incident, where the transmission didn't come off the stands, that night driving down Atomic Road there in south of Augusta, okay, heading south, this whole situation's just really strange. But I there's certain times in my life when I know I'm on the wrong track and my gut's like, this isn't what you're supposed to be up to, this isn't what you're supposed to be doing. And I know this is all meaningless stuff in the grand scheme of things. Once you guys see these big websites I have, you're like, dude, what the fuck were you doing wasting time fucking around with these transmissions and shit? This is like somehow part of the story. This whole Koenigsegg topic, this whole Koenigsegg transmission topic, believe it or not, my websites make it where the public can achieve this better Corvette with the Koenigsegg transmission that I'm talking about. You'll see what I mean soon. I can't explain it. I'm so sorry. It's really, really cutting edge shit. It's gonna change the world, like big time. What I have, like every facet of industry is gonna be changed once this website gets launched. Like you're gonna say, holy shit, what the fuck? This guy wasn't bluffing. But in a weird way, by me having to fuck around with this big ass transmission that weighs 400 fucking pounds, it's really going to educate the vet community. Like, why the okay, you have Taj who sits there and says we have an equation where we reward people if they can make things lighter weight, and it's worth X amount of dollars if we can make things lighter. And meanwhile, you're telling me that you can't offer the Koenigsegg transmission as an option and charge people $20,000 for the fucking thing as an option? Hell, charge us $40,000 for it if you think that's what it takes for you to be profitable. Whatever it takes, give it to us as an option. And that would be the supercar. And then we know that it's going to come standard in the Zora and the ZR1, the big boy cars, okay? But give the Stingray owners the option to pay the big money for it, because that will balance the fucking car. You take 200 pounds off that fucking thing, the car's balanced. Anyway, and then you can run the proper EDIF program. Anyway, this is really weird to me, guys. What I just told you are the exact facts. There's nothing else to it. That is the story. That is how it went down. And you can go back and check episode 2. There was no gap. This was tight. And again, if it would have came out while I was driving, what are the odds that the washer and the nut would still be up there and didn't water fall down and vibrate? Like, if this is going to vibrate out, like, think about how much vibration it would take to vibrate that down, to vibrate those threads out. Like, think about how much fucking vibration that would take for that to happen. Like, I'm sitting here trying to make it happen in my hand. I can't even make it happen in my hand. Like, I don't understand how that vibrated out. I do understand how a person can come along and just start spinning it, twisting this ring over and over and over, twisting the ring, twisting the ring, twisting the ring. I do understand how that could happen. And even if somebody's trying to be malicious, they did me a favor. It's really a weird situation. Like, I'm really glad that this happened. Anyway, that's all I got. See ya.